Okay, alright. Alright. Wait, what'd they say the price was? Did I miss that? Oh, here it is. Huh? Ooh, how much is Crash Team Racing again? Okay, why does that keep happening? What? That's just ridiculous. That's like the worst of both worlds. Okay. What? Seriously? Still? You're doing this? Uh-huh. So as more information about Nintendo's Switch 2 console continues to trickle in following the official reveal earlier this month, there unfortunately seems to be no shortage of news airing on the side of disappointment. Of course, the heavier topics range from the prices of the console and the games to the anti-consumer practices regarding some physical games being reduced to unlock codes for downloads. Things that are rightfully so being pushed back against, but what caught my attention that is less so surprising or impactful, but similarly baffling, is Nintendo's continued unwillingness to set up an online achievement system. Xbox and Steam have their achievements, and PlayStation has its trophies, of course, but Nintendo? Nothing, which is really weird because for myself, and I assume many others, this is a disadvantage Nintendo is suffering from for seemingly little to no reason. I can't imagine it'd be too terribly hard or inconvenient to establish a similar checklist standard, with third-party games obviously just carrying their lists over that they've already kept consistent across the other consoles, especially when the obvious benefits to player engagement and accomplishment would be substantial. While it may not seem that important for die-hard Nintendo fans and those across the other platforms with zero interest in these digital rewards, I can confirm as someone who wouldn't even call themselves a dedicated trophy or achievement hunter, I do still consider the issue when deciding whether or not I'll play a multi-platform title on Nintendo hardware. And when it comes to Nintendo's usually banger first-party offerings, I find myself feeling less motivated to stick around after the credits roll. Sure, it's an issue low on the totem pole of things Nintendo has to answer for right now, but achievements are something I'm passionate enough about that I want to give my thoughts on the whole thing and why I think it's yet another bad move on Nintendo's part to omit them. Now to recap quickly the nature of achievements, let's look back at the beginning. It was actually the launch of the Xbox 360 that pioneered the larger idea of tracking in-game accomplishments through their Xbox Live service. Despite being a part of many games on an individual basis, the idea to bring these into a larger, more unified scope innovated greatly on sharing these accomplishments, and let's be real, bragging as well. Achievements, of course, come in many shapes and sizes, from rewarding obvious objectives like story completion, playing on higher difficulties, and achieving 100% content completion, to more random things like going places you aren't typically supposed to go, finding Easter eggs, or achieving actions even beyond the game's internal consideration. Because these challenges are set by the developers, there's quite a bit of flexibility, but in a broad sense, achievements are often used to guide players towards valuable and engaging content from a perspective outside the world of the game, but we'll touch on specifics in a bit. Steam and PlayStation followed suit, introducing their own achievement equivalents shortly thereafter, which makes a lot of sense. After all, Xbox achievements and the gamerscore points they awarded caught on as something to be sought after, so like it or not, the competition was smart to catch up quick before it became a feature that kept players aligned with the only one providing these rewards, regardless of how arbitrary they may seem. I myself am an example of this phenomenon, as most of the footage you'll be seeing in this video will be of PlayStation trophies. Since I grew up on PlayStation, I haven't really sought out too many achievements on other platforms, so my examples of them are beyond unimpressive. Many players, though, likely feel the same way about their Xbox gamer score and so on, and in that sense, it can establish a brand loyalty and commitment from its most dedicated and hardcore gamers, often being those that buy the most games and therefore also spend the most money. With just this in mind, it's all the more baffling that Nintendo never bit the bullet on this, even now. The Wii, Wii U, and now the Switch have come and gone with no implementation of a comparable system, and it's been confirmed now that Switch 2 will continue this trend. While some multi-platform titles went to the trouble of including an in-game representation for their achievements available on other consoles for reasons we'll discuss, I don't think they hold anywhere near the same value. However, to fully explore that, I want to pull back and explain all the positive qualities I find in these achievement systems, as they're far more than just hit-or-miss checklists. Now, the first thing many think of when it comes to the topic of achievements is often the relationship they have with the game's content, and while I don't think the benefits end there, it is a good starting point. I mentioned before that I don't really consider myself a trophy or achievement hunter, mainly because I only go for achievements in games that I really like, or the occasional easy ones that I'm already playing. When it comes to the specific content in a game, I mainly appreciate the guidance trophies and achievements provide as far as what developers consider worth experiencing, and in many cases it's something I may not have considered checking out or have even known about on just a normal first playthrough. You might be surprised by how often games tend to hide charming and substantial content in like some random building you never have to go into, or tucked away in some corner of an open map. Achievements then can often be the extrinsic reward that gets you there, without the need for the game to force you to engage with everything or provide an immersion-breaking checklist on screen at all times. Similarly, the little reward and point values can also be a motivation for players to try new things, like harder difficulties or online competitive modes. That's the obvious stuff. The little harmless ways achievements support the interests of players, developers, and console manufacturers alike, but beyond the surface, there's actually quite a bit more to these goal markers. Regardless of whether you're looking at achievements or trophies, there are some consistent characteristics that make up the anatomy, for lack of a better word, of every goal to complete. Swing the pendulum over from content to the other side and we get two pretty interesting details. Let's start with the time, one of my favorite and likely one of the more underrated values of achievements, the timestamp of your accomplishment. I shouldn't have to explain why this is cool, but I will. Obviously, to anyone that cares about games, it's nice to earn a record of your triumph, whether it be from beating a tough boss to cutting some grass, or maybe catching your 100th cold. Okay, that one sucked, but you get the idea. PlayStation even captures the moment of achievement with a screenshot and a video clip now, so it's almost like a documented memory of something you did, whether it be incredible or mundane. These sorts of things are really fun and nostalgic to look back on, and even just the timestamp is handy for when trying to remember when you played a game for the first time, or maybe when you first completed it. That actually gets me wondering if your trophy data could be used as an alibi.
When it comes to alibis, I'm pretty close to worthless.
I can't confess to a murder I didn't commit. Why don't you believe me?
Okay, I'm getting distracted. Let's take a look at the Nintendo alternative, though. So I made the mistake of playing SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake on Nintendo Switch. The mistake not so much being achievement related, but instead being because the game ran like ass. That's what I get for figuring that SpongeBob could play decent on Nintendo. Regardless, the point being that I've not got much as far as my stats on this one goes. Best Nintendo can do is give me approximately how long I spent playing it, that is, if it's in my last 20 games played, otherwise I've got to pop the cartridge in and boot the game up to add it back to my list. A detail that you can already see without any nonsense on other platforms, sometimes in much greater detail. The added details and timestamps are something I would love to see with my Nintendo exclusives, but as it stands right now, I don't even consider the console for my third-party games because I like to collect and reflect on this data. Moving on from the timestamp though, we've also got this percentage statistic associated with each achievement, whether you've earned it or not. This represents the percentage of players that have earned a respective achievement out of the total amount of people that installed the game. The value on this does float more towards the realm of online comparison, the benefits of which we haven't largely touched on yet, but it is something right on each achievement that's neat to see. It can be really rewarding to defeat a hard boss and see what percentage of players, like yourself, have now made it this far, especially in contrast to who hasn't yet. Or you might catch an insane drop-off in a game with YouTuber affiliation when you see just how few players continue beyond the tutorial. I'm kidding. The point is that these are really cool features, especially if you kinda get excited by data like I do. That's not even to mention how this data ties in with the online benefits of achievements, considering that this can also be viewed by your friends as well as players all around the world. That topic, though, leads neatly into what I think is the biggest thing and the main theme of what Nintendo is leaving on the table, that of course being the community value. Some might say that for the most part, achievements are just about bragging rights and filling in pointless checklists, and while I think I've covered why that isn't really the case, one of the most undeniable results of having trophies and achievements is the community and buzz that surrounds them. With just the online comparison aspects, not only do you have players competing with each other and communicating via word of mouth and chat, but achievements spawn and maintain to this day a great deal of attention and free advertising online. You've got written guides, video guides, guides for whole games achievement completion, some dedicated to just one single achievement. You've got members of the community and media outlets alike engaging in discussion about them, from challenge videos to informative videos. How many trophies can I get in a set amount of time? What are the hardest achievements? What are the easiest achievements? There are even websites dedicated to tracking additional information on a large scale for everyone to see, like your own personal achievement milestones, to things like who was in the first 50 to earn a particular achievement. You bet your ass I was surprised to see myself up there a few times when doing research for this video. The player base themselves have added so much value to the achievement hunting and collecting experience on top of what was already being managed and maintained by the platform, to the point where it's almost a game itself, with rankings and everything, to earn achievements. And Nintendo is just letting this happen. You know, letting this happen while they sit on the sidelines. I was excited to see that I hit the first 10 in nearly every trophy in Mary Skelter Finale, a game you've never even heard of, so you can bet millions will be lining up to earn some Mario achievements or Zelda achievements, checking guides, showing their friends what they accomplished in the game. I did mention before that some games on Switch still maintain completion lists of their own, and even third-party games will sometimes implement their whole achievement list in-game, but it's clearly not the same. They often lack the timestamps and earn percentages and can never be shared on your profile since they're, again, trapped within the confines of the game itself. Nintendo's first-party games can really benefit from this too. Not only would their exclusivity mean more engagement on their hardware, even to a degree that emulation couldn't copy, but games with infamously bad completion rewards would be boosted by at least getting some online acknowledgement. People complain endlessly about how a game like Super Mario Sunshine can have an annoying completion journey with only bragging rights as the reward, but it'd be a hell of a lot easier to brag about something like that if you had a checkmark on your account to show you did it, complete with a timestamp and no doubt low earn percentage. Now that's not to say everything necessarily needs achievements tied to it, just as many games can have their list completed without 100%, so no need to incentivize people to say go after every Korok seed in Breath of the Wild, but other than cases like that, the potential for achievement support would be massive. The way it stands now, it just seems like Nintendo is continuing to idle while a huge opportunity misses them yet again. Now we get to the why of it all, and I'm going to say that we really don't know. I did watch this terrible video by some former Nintendo employees that glazed the company saying things like, Nintendo doesn't like to copy other companies. And achievements are so past their prime and negative to the experience of enjoying a game, which are both so incredibly ridiculous and out of touch that I'm just going to have to speculate from scratch. I've always thought that the lack of achievements may stem partially from how Nintendo's online accounts are also substantially behind the times and unintuitive. It took Nintendo so long to settle on an all-encompassing account system, as the current Nintendo account has no synergy with previous platforms and their Nintendo accounts. On PlayStation, not only can I view my trophies earned from PS3, PS4, and Vita, but I can also see my friends online regardless of which platform they're currently using. On Xbox, I can still download and play several titles from both the Xbox 360 and Xbox One, cross-generational features not at all present on any Nintendo platform, even now. Makes me wonder if Switch 2 will even have online backwards compatibility with the Switch. Will download games carry over from Switch to Switch 2? We don't even know at this point. So get this, PlayStation's been releasing these classics titles from PS1, PS2, and PSP, right? When the PSP Ratchet & Clank games were released on PS4 and PS5, I got them for free because it actually remembered that I bought them on Vita. I don't really expect to ever see this from Nintendo, and so I hesitate to even give them the benefit of the doubt regarding Switch 1 digital to Switch 2. On the subject of older games, though, how awesome would it be to get some achievement-type support for Nintendo Switch Online games, like how PlayStation added substantial trophy support to most of those classics I mentioned? I can imagine that drawing in some real attention from old and returning players. When I made my video in January on the new PlayStation Classic Sly Cooper ports, I talked about how the trophies added to those versions of the games actually had me doing and learning new things about some of my favorite games that I've been playing for years. At this point, I am just rambling and fantasizing, so I won't harp on about it forever, but I really do see a ton of potential here. Even as someone who's pretty firm in their attachment to trophies, throw some achievements on Kirby or Pokemon, and hey, I'm game to check those out. Nintendo always maintains a pretty strong younger player base too, so I feel like they're always in a good position to roll something like this out to really lock in those newer gamers. But alas, for now it remains a fantasy. Like I said at the start though, when it comes to achievements, yeah, it's far from the biggest issue surrounding the Switch 2, but in addition to just being a disappointment for prospective buyers, I do think this adversity does help establish a pattern of stubbornness or at the worst laziness at Nintendo. I'm personally still on the fence about Switch 2, because I'm loving what I'm seeing as far as the new exclusive games go, but I know that regardless of whether I'll get one, and when, multi-platform games won't be finding themselves on it in my house. It's just super unfortunate, because it seems like the playing field may be leveling when it comes to their game's performance, but Nintendo's insistent on handicapping themselves one way or another. Let me know what you think though. Do you find value in achievement systems like these? What is it about achievements and trophies that you find most compelling? I wouldn't say it's too late for Nintendo to implement achievements in some capacity, considering that PlayStation jumped on the trend partway through the PS3's life, so I really hope Nintendo reconsiders their stance on this, among other things, for sure.